also have in our audience the global network of Urban 95 cities. So an extended welcome to you all as well. We are very excited to share the second session within the Urban 95 sharing experience of Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge Webinar Series. Throughout this series, we aim to bring forth the highlights from the journey of the 10 lighthouse cities and their learnings under the Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge in scaling young children and family-friendly approaches in their cities. Last time, around 2 months back, we heard from the cities of Rourkela and Indore, and today another 2 cities, Warangal and Jabalpur, will be sharing their stories with us. So as you all know, Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge is hosted by India's National Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, anchored by their Smart Cities mission, supported by Bernard Van Leer Foundation and the World Resources Institute India as technical partner. The challenge is a 3-year-long initiative that aims to work with Indian cities to pilot and scale ways to improve neighborhoods for young children and their caregivers by developing open public spaces, enhancing mobility, and access to early childhood services and amenities. The challenge is currently in its second phase, where cities are scaling up interventions by mainstreaming early childhood lens in their projects, policies, budgets, institutional structures, and other urban development processes. This will also build a platform for peer-to-peer learning and sharing best practices between cities so that other cities also can get motivated and join this transformation journey. So moving forward, I would like to welcome Ms. Ipshita Sinha, India representative, Bernard Van Leer Foundation, to kick off the webinar. Over to you, Ipshita.
Thank you, Suhani. Can you all hear me? Because I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm visible on the screen.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, great. Since we're all amongst friends, I'm really happy to note that we have members from the Global Urban 95 network as well. Suhani has already introduced the Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge, so will not go into that again. This is just to say that for the Bernard Van Leer Foundation, our focus is, our mission is to provide a good early start in the lives of children, and access to public spaces, nurturing neighborhoods is a key component to that early start. And we're very grateful to the Smart Cities mission for having supported this challenge, and to WRI for taking it forward along with the cities who are in this journey with us. So really excited about hearing from the cities of Jabalpur and Warangal today in terms of how open spaces and public spaces are being utilized with a lens of nurturing children in their cities. Just one final open invitation to everyone on this call to keep, this is a learning exchange session, so would really invite everyone to contribute, to exchange, to share where you think you resonate, to share your challenges. We really hope that this could be a lively discussion as opposed to just limiting this to presentations. So just that limited introduction from me. Thank you so much for coming, and over to you, Suhani.
Thank you, Ipshita. So moving on, just a little bit more context on what this learning exchange series is it is an opportunity actually to explore this learning model, how Ipshita was saying right now, as a pathway to scale the young children and caregiver friendly lens in many cities, share knowledge that inspire new ideas, and promote very closer interaction between this whole U95 network of cities. Going forward in today's session, so as I mentioned, we will be looking at the stories from 2 cities and learning more about their journey in Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge so far. Before that, just some small housekeeping points. I would request everyone to please keep yourself muted so that we can hear everyone better. And I would also encourage everyone to please keep typing in your reflections, questions, thoughts, suggestions in the Q&A box or the chat box. We would be taking up the questions and thoughts at various intervals during the session. So please feel free to keep on typing, to keep on commenting. So without further ado, let's dive into the story of our first city of the day, that is Warangal.
Warangal, the second largest city in the state of Telangana, India, is home to a population of 1.1 million, including 0.1 million young children aged 0 to 6 years. About 29% of the city's population resides in vulnerable settlements, exposing them to various hazards and risks in a deplorable public environment. To address these challenges, Warangal has embarked on a journey with the vision to develop a network of safe, accessible, and inclusive public spaces for young children and their caregivers with a particular focus on the vulnerable settlements. The city started its journey in 2021 with the Nurturing Neighbourhoods challenge, implementing 5 pilots in a neighbourhood. Drawing from the learnings of these pilots, Warangal is now scaling up its efforts across the city. This endeavor is being carried out in convergence with various state-level schemes, diverse partnerships, and active community engagement. During the pilot phase, the city identified an abandoned plot in the midst of a vulnerable settlement that had become a dump yard and transformed the space into an age-specific and accessible neighborhood park for nearby residents. The park was developed using low-cost repurposed materials, providing children an opportunity to engage in stimulating play within walking distance. The impact of this transformation on the community's lives helped decision makers understand the importance and potential of such spaces in the city. This has inspired them to further scale multiple young children and caregiver-friendly parks and spaces across the city. Motivated by the success of the pilots, Warangal is gradually expanding its efforts to create interactive play opportunities and early childhood development ECD facilities in more neighborhoods across the city. They're achieving this by reclaiming residual spaces and dumping grounds within neighborhoods, as well as retrofitting community hall premises to transform them into safe, accessible, and interactive spaces for young children and their caregivers, enabling interactions and learnings. The city aims to create natural settings that allow children to freely explore and engage in play. In addition to reclaiming spaces, Warangal is experimenting with integrating natural and unconventional play opportunities with conventional ones. To enhance the sensory and physical experiences of children, they are developing nature-based play elements such as tactile gabion walls, wooden textured seating, grass mounds for climbing, sand pits, and more. These elements help to nurture the curiosity of children aged 0 to 5 years, making them highly engaged in the stimulating play environments. To ensure the long-term sustainability and effective operation and maintenance of these projects, Warangal is forming diverse partnerships with government and non-government agencies. They're also converging with various national and state-level schemes and missions to secure financial support. To address the rising temperature and make neighborhoods more greener and healthier, the city is leveraging state-level schemes such as Patna Pragati and Har Ghar Haram and undertaking extensive plantation. The city has allocated 10% of the municipal budget as a greening fund, which is being used to scale up the Nurturing Neighbourhood Challenge interventions. They are also reclaiming play spaces within government lower primary schools under the Mana Uru Mana Bari program. Creating vibrant and playful public spaces needs interventions beyond infrastructure. It involves understanding and addressing social behavior change to ensure maximum usage and a sense of ownership among the community. Warangal is focusing on this aspect by using various civic engagement models to generate awareness and strengthen public participation. The Warangal team acquired valuable knowledge on applying behavioral science for early childhood development through a course facilitated by the Bernard Van Leer Foundation at INSEAD. With this knowledge, the city is taking a systematic approach to understand user behavior patterns at improved and potential public spaces and working towards addressing them for better utilization. The findings from this research will inform the design, implementation, and scaling up of behavioral interventions. The development of this network of play spaces has had a significant positive impact on the lives of young children and their caregivers. It has increased their time spent outdoors and helped sensitize decision makers to the specific needs of children and caregivers when accessing public spaces.
ఇంతకుముందు ఇలా చెమల్ల చెట్లు అవి ఉండి అంత చీకటి ఉండి పిల్లలు వెళ్ళి ఆడుకునేదానికి ఇట్లా భయపడేది. ఇప్పుడు కొంచెం మంచి వీసుల్లో లైట్ గిట్ట వీటిలో వస్తే పిల్లలు కొంచెం ప్రశాంతంగా ఆడుకుంటాను.
బస్సు ఇక్కడ 34 ఇయర్స్ అవుతుంది. గౌన్కు మామూలుగా ఉండేది పార్కు, మధ్యలో బాగానే చేశారు. ఇప్పుడు కూడా మా పిల్లలు కూడా ఉన్నారు, డైలీ చిన్న చిన్న పిల్లలు ఉన్నారు, మా 2 అబ్బాయిలు. వాళ్ళు కూడా డైలీ ఆడుకుంటారు, వీలైతే పోయి చదువుకుంటారు.
Warangal's commitment to creating vibrant and playful public spaces for young children is driven by a desire to provide inclusive and stimulating environments where children can thrive and develop.
Nice. I think it was a very impactful story of how Warangal is developing this network of play spaces, and they're also focusing on using natural and unconventional play to do so. To get more insights on Warangal's journey, we will now hear from the key champions of the city on what are the challenges and what are the key strategies that they are using in their city for this transformation.
Warangal envisions to develop a network of open spaces across the city for infants, toddlers, and their caregivers that cater to all age groups and the vulnerable sections of the society. Secondly, Greater Warangal plans to develop programs for creating play spaces equipped with supportive amenities for young children and their caregivers in the areas most frequented by them, such as Anganwadis, primary schools, public health centers, and at walkable distance from their neighborhoods. Based on the city's sustainable urban development agenda through state-level schemes such as Haritaharam and Patana Pragati, the city has recognized the importance of exposure to nature and biodiversity for the healthy development of young children. Warangal's scale-up plan includes a greening strategy to incorporate climate-resilient urban design in public spaces, including development of play spaces in various neighborhoods and lakefront projects across the city. The city is converging state, central, and city schemes to form dedicated 10% budget allocation toward greening funds for translating the vision of creating family-friendly, open and green spaces across the city. Thank you.
So Warangal is a city of about 10.5 lakh population today, and we have a significant toddler, infant, and caregiver population in the city. I think it's really important that urban spaces have to respond to all segments of their population, which includes the infant, toddler, and the caregiver. In case of Warangal, we have noticed that urban spaces have often become very restricted and they cannot cater to all segments. And therefore, it has been important that we provide safe spaces where there is a scope for improvement in the cognitive abilities of a child and also of an infant and a toddler. And this not only helps in their mental and cognitive growth, but it also has a long-term impact on their well-being and learning capabilities in the future. And what we've done is we have recognized certain pockets of the city where this can be taken up, and we've tried to map areas or neighborhoods where there is an Anganwadi center, and if preferably there is open space nearby. We have captured that to ensure that the neighborhood is nurtured in this particular fashion, and that these spaces are walkable distances from the neighborhoods and from the Anganwadi centers. And we've seen great benefits from this because we've focused on certain areas which have been underprivileged or which have not seen such kind of initiatives before. So we've had major parks in the city, but these micro parks that we have created, especially in the slums and in low-income areas, have yielded a lot of benefits to us. And I think this is very visible in terms of the Chitti Park that was taken up in MH Nagar slum, and also in the Christian Colony park which was taken up. So these areas, when we have interacted with the mothers there or the children there, we have realized that it has been of great benefit to them in terms of the interactive walls that we have created, in terms of the crawling spaces or the textured spaces that we have created for them in that particular park. And this has been very rewarding for the entire team of GWMC because it has helped us understand that there is a dimension and there is a potential which we can tap here to help the growth of infant toddlers and the caregivers. I think there are three aspects of the strategy that we've had. One is that we have primarily focused on underprivileged areas and low-income areas. So that is something that has been very interesting for us to see the transformation of an area just by creating a space for infants and toddlers where there's a meeting point for the mothers for them to share their concerns, and this is unprecedented for them in a low-income area. So that has been one takeaway for us in Warangal. The second has been that we have utilized recyclable materials in a lot of our spaces. It could be creating walls using pebbles, or it could be also in terms of the tree stumps which are reused as balancing spaces for the toddlers. So a lot of these materials were recycled materials from our own projects. And the third unique aspect of the strategy that we have utilized is we decided to come up with a specific set of implementable projects in each of the NNC sites. This could be in the form of a feeding room and a few certain play elements of every particular park. So this has helped us scale up the projects at a much faster pace, because once the project is implemented in one particular park, it is easy to replicate in the other areas of the city. So this has been the strategy with which we have been working, and I think this will also help us scale up in all the other areas, and this will help us increase the footfall at these places also.
As a part of this campaign, we think from children's perspective, not just from adult perspective. So most of our children in slum areas and also in vulnerable areas, they are deprived of such basic facilities. They don't enjoy the freedom. They are deprived of their basic child rights. So with this initiative of Nurturing Neighbourhood Challenge, we take up active spaces. We want to make more playgrounds. We want to make our arenas of public spaces more conducive to the children's environment. So we have started various initiatives in this. We have built various playgrounds. We have changed our neighborhood localities with different modifications to adjust to the children atmosphere and children mindset. So our commitment towards children's environment and also bring community engagement. So usually we don't want to go for a top-down approach where we decide the things. We want the communities and also the local people to take care of the initiatives. So the citizen-centric engagement followed by communities' orientation and interest and behavioral change. We go by these initiatives so that we are committed to our goal of making our corporation and also our greater Warangal a city which is more conducive for children.
Regarding this NNC for institutional evaluation, we have established the NNC cell with the working group of decision makers and technical staff, and advisory committee is also established with multi-sectorial representative body responsible for ensuring the systematic and coordinated implementation of any children and family-friendly spaces throughout our Warangal city. Any children-friendly spaces are also developed across the city with partnerships made by Warangal Municipal Corporation and Smart City Corporation Limited, and with various government and non-government agencies like UDA and also District Welfare Department, District Education Department, and some self-help groups, and also some NGOs, along with some academic institutions like Agate Institute of Technology. We have partnered, and we have operationalized the convergence between local, state, and central government schemes. As a part of our state government innovative program, the 10% of general fund is earmarked for the green fund, which is taken for the development of the parks and the greenery and plantation in our corporation limits. Warangal is taking steps towards making neighborhoods greener and healthier for young children by developing the urban forest and block plantations and plantation along the street avenue across the city limits. This is being done in participation with school children and local community such as residential welfare associations, and also some schools and some government like offices also involved in this activity. Maintenance plays a crucial role in long-term sustainability of these projects. We have mobilized a community of 4 neighborhoods through campaigns to protect and maintain the neighborhood parks in a perfect way. And also the city also is permitted the age-specific play innovations with recycling and natural materials available in various projects we have taken in corporation limits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all the city champions, for sharing with us this information. I am sure that it will be helpful for many other cities to understand from you that how are you actually realizing your commendable vision on ground. So now we'll open it for a small round of Q&A. I would request everyone who has a question or thought so far to type it down in the Q&A box. And we have Mr. Srinivas Rao, who is the Chief Horticulture Officer from Greater Warangal Municipal Corporation, with us to answer these questions. Welcome, sir.
Hi.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So I see a question for you. If I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, but Lidike Medelbeck, she or he wants to know. I'm curious to learn more about measuring the impact of this great initiative. I imagine many positive outcomes for health, development, participation, and social. But which indicators have we measured? I understand, sir, they want to know that how are we measuring our impact on ground from all the great initiatives and all the projects that we are doing? What are the ways we are measuring it, and what are we measuring exactly?
Yeah, actually, we are like we are seeing that the infrastructure which we have developed should be utilized more properly for the kids and the primary caregivers. So we are conducting in-depth surveys and also people count, so that how frequently they are visiting, and the infrastructure what we have created, like the unstructured play equipment, also the recyclable material which we have used. So all these things we are taking care, and we are conducting surveys frequently. And also one of the thing we have noticed, that civic engagement was minimal in one of the park. So we conducted a campaign, and we observed that like a painting competition was conducted, and we involved the local corporator as a leader, local leader, and also uh, caregiver, primary caregivers, and also kids. So there was a huge response, and people got to know that it's their property and they should own it, and they should safeguard it, and they should maintain properly it, so that it will be useful for the kids in the physical or mental development. So these are the things which we have taken, and also we have conducted a mass plantation drive with the kids. So children will be engaged in planting the trees, and they will be knowing the benefits, like how they are going to get the planting a tree. So these are the things which have we taken care. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll wait for more questions to come. If anybody has. Okay. So I think this is more on the behavioral front, and Warangal is really doing this now. So can you explain more about behavioral assessment? Like, you have used any tools, and what's the so maybe like it's more on the framework that we are using to understand the behaviors in the city of Warangal.
Yeah, actually, I had been to INSEAD also for the behavioral change of the primary caregivers. So actually, what we observed is only the fathers of the kids are taking the children to the park, like whenever they get the time only, like whenever they come early from the office, or during the weekends. But and also the mothers, they are not at all involving. And at times, if they are families are together with their old age parents, the grandparents will take them to parks. So we are conducting a rapid assessment. This thing also, we have taken different tools, and the study is under the process. Most probably, we will conduct in a successful way.
Okay, so you're using that behavioral assessment, the rapid formative research tool, to understand what are the behaviors, current behaviors and barriers, so that you can address them. I hope that addresses your question, Sagarika.
Yes, fine. I just want to know, what are the process and how you approach, like how you observe the behavioral of the caregiver or the toddler.
I think Suhani, she's trying to ask about how are they exactly assessing the behaviors of caregivers and toddlers.
Okay, so you would want to address this.
Yeah, actually, we are taking in-depth interviews of users and the non-users, and also our park staff and the officers involved, like our horticulture department, our engineers. So we are conducting the in-depth surveys, and it is under the process. Definitely, we'll come out with some results, like why this infrastructure is not used in the the expected level actually. So there might be, there are the different reasons. The neighborhood may not be in the reachable distance, or they don't have time to spend, or maybe they don't know the importance of taking the children to the park during their initial developments, like 0 to 6 years. So these are all underway.
Thank you, sir. I hope this helps. Let me see.
So actually, we have hurdles we have found, and the study is underway. So after 2 or 3 months, we'll get the results definitely.
I'm sure we'll do one
Yes.
more learning session then, so on behavior change from Warangal.
Yes.
So thank you so much for answering these questions, sir. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to type, and we would respond back to your questions as an answer. So moving on from one motivational story to another, let's move forward and see how Jabalpur is transforming their city for young children and their caregivers.
Jabalpur, the third largest city in the state of Madhya Pradesh in India, is home to 1.25 million people, including 0.13 million young children. However, the city faces a serious lack of public spaces, with less than 1 square meter of per capita public space falling well below both Indian and global standards. To overcome this challenge, Jabalpur envisions the development of inclusive public spaces through the integration of a child-friendly lens. They aim to do so by strengthening connections to young children-oriented destinations, in turn creating nurturing environments. Learning from the Nurturing Neighbourhoods challenge, the city has collaborated with government agencies and engaged the community to identify diverse projects that will be transformed into stimulating play spaces. These steps will further inform the Play Master Plan to be developed for a holistic integration of the family-friendly lens in the city. During the pilot phase, Jabalpur implemented innovative initiatives such as a children-friendly vaccination center designed to include playful waiting spaces that enable caregivers to better engage their children. The success of these initiatives reinforced the transformative power of play in young children-centric destinations. Building on these learnings, Jabalpur plans to scale up its efforts by creating a network of inclusive public spaces. This includes developing neighborhood parks, pocket parks, play areas at ECV facilities, and piloting mobile libraries for young children. The city is developing neighborhood-level parks near vulnerable settlements, co-creating solutions with the community to meet the needs of all age groups. The neighborhood parks thus created include flexible spaces that serve for play as well as community spaces. Jabalpur is retrofitting existing neighborhood parks in the city with play spaces and seating for young children, including sensory play opportunities for stimulating and interactive play. The city is also creating age-specific play opportunities that enable young children and their caregivers to spend more time outdoors. To enhance accessibility, the city is also adding pocket parks along pedestrianized non-motorized transport corridors. These play spaces are created using low-cost materials to provide free play opportunities for attracting young children. Community engagement plays a vital role in understanding the needs of the residents, ensuring the successful development of these parks.
गार्डन यहाँ बना है, अच्छा झूला बना है, बैठने का बना है, टायर भी बना है, अच्छा लग रहा है, लोग अच्छा लगता है, रोज आएंगे, स्कूल भी जाएंगे. Thank you.
The community-driven transformation of parks has been instrumental in creating safe, inclusive and family-friendly public spaces in Jabalpur. To ensure their sustainability, the city has signed an MOU with the Resident Welfare Association to leverage the sense of ownership of local residents for the operation and maintenance of these parks. Jabalpur is also reclaiming spaces for play at early childhood development facilities such as nutrition rehabilitation centers, Anganwadis and primary health centers.
अभी तक तो यहाँ पर बच्चों को रखा जाता था उनका विकास के लिए, उनका वजन बढ़ता था, लेकिन जो स्मार्ट सिटी जबलपुर है उन्होंने एक प्ले एरिया प्रोवाइड किया है, एक प्लेटफॉर्म तैयार किया है जिससे यहाँ पर जो बच्चे आते हैं उनका शारीरिक विकास तो हम कर ही रहे हैं क्योंकि वह कुपोषित हैं, लेकिन प्ले थेरेपी के थ्रू उनका मानसिक विकास भी होता है. तो उनको ऐसा बेबी फ्रेंडली माहौल यहाँ का मिलता है कि वो अपना डर, उनको ये नहीं लगता कि मैं हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट हूँ, माँ को ये नहीं लगता कि मैं अपने बच्चे को हॉस्पिटल में लेके आई हूँ.
Additionally, the city is piloting the concept of a mobile library made from discarded city buses. This initiative aims to enhance access to educational books for vulnerable communities and promote learning amongst young children. The development of these open play spaces has significantly increased the time spent by young children and caregivers outdoors and has also helped sensitize decision makers in understanding the need for children-centric public spaces in the city. Moving forward, the city plans to sustain the long-term impacts and solidify the approach of scaling public and play spaces. Inspired by Istanbul, Jabalpur plans to develop a play master plan guiding the local agencies towards a holistic approach to scale up its network of inclusive public spaces. They plan to do so through data-centric planning, sustainable finance, involvement of multiple departments, and the formulation of design guidelines and policies. As an example, if we look at the spread of parks and open spaces in the city, a significant residential area appears to not have access to open spaces within walkable distances. Thus, the city is adopting a data-led decision-making approach to take up interventions in the most deprived areas and complete the network while considering access, opportunities of play, and exposure to nature. Through NNC, Jabalpur is actively transforming neighborhoods across the city in a young children and family-friendly way by using play as a tool to create safe, accessible, and inclusive public spaces.
I think it was really good to see how Jabalpur is actually developing various scales of public space to, bridge that gap of infrastructure that they had. And so moving on, we will hear from the key champions of Jabalpur on their key strategies for this transformation. How are they actually doing it on ground? So Ravi, can we please play the interviews that we did with the Jabalpur team?
Jabalpur is a developing Tier 2 city in Madhya Pradesh, constantly evolving through various infrastructure projects. These projects are aimed at fulfilling the needs of city's diverse residents. We recently collaborated with Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge and gained valuable insights into importance of public spaces and play areas for children's growth and development. Previously, the design to implementation process lacked stakeholders' involvement, resulting in repetitive public and play spaces that did not cater to the needs of Jabalpur's young residents. However, the city has now prioritized citizen involvement and is actively developing parks and open spaces with citizen-centric approach to address the specific needs of different demographics and socio-economic background. Jabalpur's vision is to create inclusive city that benefits everyone, and we are using plays as a tool to bridge gaps in infrastructure facilities. Developing play spaces which responds to very specific needs of young children and their caregivers will enable the city to address the unique needs of its residents at different scales.
The adoption of a child-centric perspective has been a crucial strategy in the city's planning approach. Through the Nurturing Neighbourhood Challenge, we gained valuable insights into the needs of young children and their caregivers. By piloting projects across multiple domains, we were able to engage with various stakeholders to understand the challenges they face when accessing the public spaces such as parks, Anganwadis, healthcare centers and other facilities. The lack of age-appropriate play spaces, limited play areas in vulnerable neighbourhoods, inadequate caregiver facilities and unsuitable waiting and seating spaces for ITCs and ECDs facilitate emerged as the most pressing issue. With the young children friendly lens, we have shifted our focus towards a people-centric approach, scaling up in various domains and contributing towards the city urban development and planning by integrating the ITC lens. Currently, we are working towards developing a play master plan for Jabalpur that aims to gradually incorporate valuable play spaces in every neighborhood of the city, creating a robust network of open spaces to link the city. This initiative will further enhance the city's livability and accessibility, promoting the inclusivity and the diversity in the public spaces. As a part of our long-term vision, we are working on developing a play master plan that will serve as a comprehensive framework for the city's future development. This plan aims to promote holistic growth in key areas such as mobility, open spaces, healthcare facilities, education, and the environment through play. It will involve strategies such as reclaiming spaces for play, developing public spaces catering to various age groups, addressing the unique needs of young children and caregivers, and targeting vulnerable settlements. To achieve our objectives, we are also prioritizing capacity building for officials through measures such as adopting a monitoring and evaluation framework, imparting behavior change training, conducting citizen engagement and stakeholder consultations through focus group discussions, and providing guidance on the operation and maintenance of these spaces. To institutionalize these efforts, we have established the NN Cell and NN Advisory Committee comprising multi-sectoral representatives. These bodies will ensure a coordinated and systematic implementation of ITC-friendly public spaces in the city.
Jabalpur is committed to promoting equal access to vibrant and inclusive public spaces that are welcoming to diverse economic backgrounds, especially those with young children. And to achieve this, we have implemented a total of 13 projects so far, specifically designed for children. These primarily include pocket parks in slums and play spaces along non-motorized transit corridors, play spaces at vaccination centers and NRCs, and neighborhood level parks. Open spaces, particularly neighborhood parks, are developed to serve all age groups, which promote the multifunctionality of the space and benefits our entire community. The selection of these spaces and sites is based on need-based approach using data collection and immediate request from the ward cooperator. To ensure the success of these projects, the inclusion of stakeholders from the project initiation stage has been a successful model for us. Our city has been conducting various consultations from the community, which has added value to proposed projects and led to stakeholder buy-in. We have also established partnerships with resident welfare associations, which has proven to be a successful model in fostering a sense of ownership within the community and encouraging them to participate in the maintenance of these projects.
To develop all-inclusive city, Jabalpur has been actively working to create play spaces that are specific to different domains, such as ECD services, neighborhood parks, pocket parks, Anganwadis, waiting spaces at ISBT transit station, and other public spaces. The city has made significant efforts to meet the needs of children by providing them with opportunities to play using both conventional and unconventional play equipment such as wooden beams, sensory walls, music walls, colorful low-height wooden fences, and evergreen plantation. Additionally, the city has been promoting nature-based play opportunities by providing age-specific play equipments made of wood, which encourages children to engage with nature. One of city's primary goal is to provide play opportunities for children in vulnerable neighborhoods. We have take up two projects, one at Kariya Pathar Slum and another one in Brijmohan Nagar BSOP. Both have been highly successful in this regard. These spaces are designed to accommodate age-specific play using low-cost play elements that meet the unique needs of the children and caregivers. Since these areas lacked public spaces, these developed sites have become active community spaces and encourage various activities including play. Further, we are planning to develop similar sites in other vulnerable areas as well, creating equal opportunities to play.
Thank you so much, Jabalpur team. Can I request everyone to please start typing their questions? We have with us Jabalpur team. We have Mr. CP Gohil, who is the CEO of Jabalpur Smart City, and Mr. Sambhav, who is the Assistant Commissioner of Jabalpur Municipal Corporation, with their team to answer our questions. And okay, so I see one question for you, sir, from Tessie Carey. Would like to know more about funding. Is it fully covered from a funding agency or community take part? Also, what were the most challenging factors that you faced from preparation to execution?
Good evening to all. Thank you for asking the question. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So funding is always a issue. When we take up the projects which are not categorically being driven by the state or central government, and these projects we have to do by our own. So in the funding pattern, what we have done in Jabalpur is that we have utilized basically we have done the convergence model of funding in which various agencies tap their funds to a common pool and then we do our work. For example, if a project has a component A, B, C, so A and B can be executed by one party, the C can be executed by the other. For example, the boundary wall can be made by municipal corporation, say. Secondly, the paving can be done by the smart city. Basically, we have used the smart city grant fund as the guideline says that these fund can be used in the challenges of the government. Secondly, we have a beautiful convergence model with the corporation because ultimately it is the domain of the corporation to enhance the beauty and the ease of the caregivers, toddlers, and everyone. So obviously, municipal corporation also funds us. There are various funding development agencies in Jabalpur, like Jabalpur Development Authority, like PWD, that is Public Works Department, who do the development in various phases and various domains. So what we are trying to make in Jabalpur is the Jabalpur Play Master Plan, so that we can legalize and we can have some legal weightage to incorporate these changes in the city, so that the perpetual funding can be done and it can be easily accepted. The most challenging part that has been asked in the execution, obviously, I believe that the behavioral changes that we sought to change, what we desire to change is the behavior of the public, behavior of the officials towards this problem. This problem is always neglected because obviously the children and toddlers are not the pressure group in a democracy. So obviously the priority, they are not in priority. So these are the challenges. So obviously we all know and we belong to, in this country, everybody knows it, that vandalism is a very big problem in the pockets which are not very well monitored. So when we created these infrastructure, some part of it gets vandalized sometimes. Then there is always a question of the regular maintenance. For example, there is a landscaping, so we have to maintain it. So it always requires more and more amount of funds. So this is a challenge. So we are trying now to make the perpetual funding so that it can be taken up from the Nagar Nigam, or that is the municipal corporation, and not from the smart city, because it is a mission, it has to end one day. So for the perpetual funding, obviously we are tapping the funds of the municipal corporation and PWDs. Secondly, what I want to say is that the sustainability of these projects is a very crucial thing. To make one thing is one thing, but to maintain and to carry forward is a different thing. So up till now, we are trying to manage by our own resources, and we are also tapping the other resources. But we will again strive, and as I said, that we are trying to tap the powers of the Play Master Plan, so that it can be legalized, it can be more institutionalized way. Thank you.
So, sir, we have one question which is a bit connected to what you were speaking about right now. So, Anubhav wants to know that what about the role of the district administration actually in providing the convergence support from all the concerned government departments to municipal corporation in planning and execution of these projects and implementations.
Okay, so luckily in Jabalpur and Madhya Pradesh in general, district collector is the chairman of the board of Smart City SPV. So obviously, district collectorate and district collector is engaged in this process. So anything that we do, we always apprise him, and he always supports us. Main coordination thing, because coordination is required by various departments. For example, police, example of development authorities, corporation, PWD roads, and various we require the coordination. So obviously it is well coordinated here. And secondly, in the funding part also, the district mineral fund can also be used in these type of projects by the approval of the district collector. So obviously collector plays a pivotal role, and being chairman of the SPV, he plays it. So that's a situation in Madhya Pradesh.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question from Ledeke. It's a combination of a compliment and a question, by the way. She said, they say that fantastic to see the commitment at political and community level. I hope this momentum and energy can be maintained so the next generation can also benefit from this important project. Just two very short questions. Are there any plans to scale up to other age groups? And are there any private partners involved in this process of implementation of the projects?
I will request Mr. Sambhav, our Assistant Commissioner, to respond it.
Yeah. So basically, when we talk about the scale up, first of all, we have analyzed that what has worked for us and what has not. So when we talk about what has worked for us, we have tried to replicate it or scale up to the other parts of our city in various different pockets of our city. And what has not worked for us, we have tried to facilitate it through various types of focus group discussions and some sort of open street campaigns or suggestions or feedbacks. One important thing for us is that we have a dedicated network of champions. We have created a network of champions in our city. It comprises basically of an NN advisory cell, also some of various NGOs or some key pivotal persons living in that particular locality who can actually influence some people in that particular area. So what we do is, when we talk about the scale up in taking these initiatives further in our entire city, then we actually do some sort of advisory cell meeting in tandem with our network of champion meeting. Then we further identify a set of projects, take up open street campaigns and focus group discussions in a particular locality. Then we further do intercept surveys or some sort of surveys to collect data over there. Further, then when we identify the projects and formulate a basic design of those particular projects, then we actually represent those particular designs in that particular local community, sit with the stakeholders present in or major stakeholders of that particular area, make necessary amendments and necessary corrections in that particular design. Then we go for test, learn and scale approach. First, we implement some sort of pilot in that particular area, incorporate learnings of this or some sort of feedback or suggestions of those particular of the local stakeholders. Then we go for some sort of permanent solution in that particular area. So such kind of approach we are adopting for further scaling up these particular interventions to our entire city. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. There's one more question actually. It's a two-part question. First part of it you already answered a little bit. The second is that, is there anything planned at this stage to measure behavior change, and what would be the tools for measuring behavior change in Jabalpur?
Okay, prior to this particular challenge, being very honest, we never thought of implementing anything with a very planned manner. The location was also used to be selected by the authorities and everything. But now what we are doing is, when we get some sort of suggestions or feedback to take up some sort of project in a particular area, we kind of take up some sort of intercept service. So basically, we have some sort of forms with our municipal corporation and smart city, where we actually measure the behavior using various indicators. Like, for example, even if we want to place a particular bench in a particular area in a particular park, then we actually, a team of surveyors go from our SPV and to that particular park and record the behavior, like how many people are sitting in a particular area, how many people are actually reading newspaper, or how many people are going to just take a stroll in that particular park, or how many people are coming with prams or children of 0 to 5 years age group. So that's how we are collecting data, and using that particular data we are implementing all the projects. So post implementation also we are getting to see, for the first time we are getting to see, when we use this data oriented approach, the projects which we have implemented using this particular approach have fared out much better than without this. So in such kind of way, we are using some tools to measure the behavioral change, even though we have to still work more on this thing, but this is how we are doing it as of now.
I hope that answers your question, Nilesh. And thank you so much, sir. I think it's very, very motivating to see how Jabalpur is taking this very people-centric approach towards their project selection, implementation, and everything. Thank you so much. So moving forward now. So as we just saw the stories of Warangal and Jabalpur of their NNC journeys, this process is also providing some great learnings and insights out of these as we have listened to it in bits and pieces today. So an attempt is being made to collate these learnings and convert them into a compiled document for wider dissemination called learning case studies, and so that the wider network can benefit from these learnings, and they can also take these strategies up in their cities. We would very soon be sharing learning case studies from 4 cities, which will be Raurkela, Indore, Warangal, and Jabalpur. We had just a small glimpse of the learning case studies for you. I hope that these inspire and foster many such transformating stories. Now I'd like to request Ms. Ipshita Sinha, India Representative, Banath Dandiya Foundation, and Mr. Kaustubh Chuke, Program Manager, WRI India, to please share your thoughts, some reflections on the session and the stories that we have seen so far from both the cities.
Thank you, Sohani. First and foremost, a big thank you to the cities of Warangal and Jabalpur for taking the time to sharing your journeys and story with us. Thank you to Mr. Srinivas for taking the time out, to Mr. Gohil, Mr. Ayachi, and all the senior colleagues from the city of Jabalpur for answering the questions with depth, but more than that, with honesty and the realism of our operating context. I was just sitting and noting the similarity of the themes of questions that are emerging. This is a group of practitioners, so of course questions around funding and financing are top of mind for everyone. The Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge sits under the Smart Cities mission. The mission is a time-bound program, and so how else do cities embed the lessons from the Nurturing Neighbourhoods Challenge into their various institutions, and how those interventions, the lessons that we've learned, the programs that have been designed actually get funded. So a lot of conversation around leveraging innovative financing mechanisms from both of the cities have been a big learning for me. Similarly, a lot of methods of civic engagement, of local leadership engagement in both of the cities have been, again, a big learning for me. The idea of the play master plan that's emerging from the city of Jabalpur, I think that could potentially be an interesting model of institutionalizing the lessons of the Nurturing Neighborhood Challenge. How do we embed the theme of play, of creating playful public spaces in the cities? So over the next 6 months, we look forward to following the journey of the city of Jabalpur as they sort of work towards institutionalizing this play master plan within their city. Also, a lot of discussion around behavior change and measuring impact. That's been great as well to see the interest of the audience in these themes. As the Banath Dandiya Foundation, I think the big additionality that we bring to the Smart Cities mission is that in addition to building public spaces, how do we design spaces and services in a manner where
This meeting is being recorded.
That hold people back from taking children out to play, and how can play spaces be designed to motivate to learn about those themes. And finally, a big thank you to the audience for being so engaged, for asking such insightful questions. I think there are still some questions in the chat, etc., that remain going. So just again, a reminder to the group that if there are other questions that come up maybe later as you reflect on this session, do reach out to the WRI team. Our attempt really is to ensure that this is an exchange, that there's conversation, and that we learn from each other as we're all on this journey of building child-friendly cities. So thank you so much from the Bernard Van Leer Foundation, and over to you, Costa.
Thank you, Ipshita, for that really power-packed reflections, I would say. And for me, being part of the journey, it's sometimes hard to give reflections because you're really ingrained into it. But still, I would like everyone to bring their attention to the idea that we as a team went to these cities with a single idea, but how they have taken it, made it for themselves, brought in very local innovative solutions, and really formed the visions and are now working towards it. So in case of Warangal, it's really fascinating to see that they are leveraging this greening effort that is very much required for the city given its environmental condition. It's in a very hot region, and converting that into making play spaces. Because if we see, play is the most natural way to play is amidst the nature, right, and on the grasslands. So all the greening fund that is available to the city, and taking that and converting it to creation of play spaces, and thus making it really sustainable as an initiative and achieving the vision is something really to look at from the city. The other thing is the example of Chitti Park is something that really resonates because it's a very small change, but it brings a really large transformation for a community that usually is very much ignored. And as the Commissioner ma'am, the Collector ma'am pointed out, it's like it's the same space that is now a gathering space for women in the society, in the community. It's a play space for children, and now because it is being used, the space that was a dump yard now is a very clean public space for the whole community. It's helping them to really uplift themselves of sorts through these really small transformation. In case of Jabalpur, as Ipshita highlighted, the play master plan is a really groundbreaking idea that they have taken up as an inspiration from Istanbul, and that can really sort of streamline everything that the city has been doing till now, experimenting with, input those learnings in that document, and then solidify it for the future, that all the department work towards a single vision, and then the whole city becomes friendly for all the ages, as they say it, and specifically to the young children.
Thank you all once again, and hope to see you all very, very soon. Have a very good evening.